Hi everybody, this is Emily Ralston presenting on gamification in the classroom for my Foundations of Instructional Technology final assignment. So gamification is the integration of game elements into learning environments. This can be a game platform, it can be game elements or engagement strategies, or actual game play. But what's important to distinguish is that just playing a game does not necessarily mean gamification. We're aiming to gamify a lesson. So some examples of this are Prodigy. This is for math and ELA. Desmos is an engaging math platform that uses videos and simulations. The dark blue in the left corner is the Jeopardy Labs website that can be used to create teams and host a trivia event for students to compete against each other. And then last is Book It, where lots of different game modes can be played independently or in a live setting in a classroom where students are aiming for highest accuracy and points collected. The purpose of gamification is to increase engagement for students, which supports their ownership and accountability of their learning. Some gamification platforms are completely independent, and this really helps students connect with their learning rather than with the teacher or with other peers. They're able to just be independent in this, which is awesome because they're able to increase their accountability and just their ownership of their learning experience. Kind of with that is the ability to self-assess and monitor when using gamification platforms. Students are able to view their progress like throughout a world or throughout challenges and things like that, and are awarded different accomplishments throughout the games. Next is skills practice. Repeated skills practice can really help students build procedural fluency. And last is data collection. A lot of these platforms like Desmos or Bookit or Prodigy have an ability for teachers to track and monitor students based on their progress and skills that they're working on. This can be analyzed as you would any other data, and is often really helpful because students are actively engaged in this for a longer period of time than they would be during a traditional assessment. When implementing gamification in the classroom, there's a couple important things to consider. The first is having a clear learning objective. This should be tied to academic standards and thoughtfully planned in the same way that you plan a learning objective for any traditional lesson. This helps to ensure that it's not just a filler activity, but it's actually gamifying a lesson or a task that is applicable to students learning throughout your class. Next is that feedback and scoring should be objective and specific. Students should have meaningful feedback opportunities throughout gamified lessons, and any scoring or advancement through the gamification process should be objective and following a rubric like an assignment in class. And lastly, the technology needs to be accessible. All technology tools should be accessible to all students and that provide equal access to participation and shouldn't hinder their success. If the tool is getting in the way, then this is not fulfilling the purpose of gamification. So why this works, basically, students' attention is commanded by gamification. It increases their engagement and they're more receptive to learning when their attention is fully focused on something. This also maintains their engagement in the content. While it feels like a game to them, they're sitting in the content for a much longer period of time than they might be if they're looking at a worksheet or an assessment otherwise. Next, it's stimulating to the brain. It promotes recall with students because they're able to link dopamine with their learning and memory. They feel that rush of endorphins over competition, over success in a game, and just playing a game helps them to be calm and engaged otherwise. So these types of interactions help students to retrieve information about the content when they have specific memories to go back to. Lastly is the idea of storytelling. The brain's ability to process information is improved by making connections with previous experiences, especially personal. So, storytelling features like having a background, character, plot lines, things like that engage students and are able to form connections between their lived experiences in a more real way. Thank you guys for listening, and thanks for a great semester.